Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hear2See channel. Today we're looking at the Gospel of Mark, an overview of the Gospel of Mark. Hear2See, sharing pearls of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge, understanding the difficult, and instructions for a better life. Now, the Gospel of Mark. And Mark was the first of the Gospels that was actually written. We're going to take a look at Dr. Charles Swindoll. Chuck Swindoll's Insight for Living webpage has an overview of each book of the Bible, including Mark. And this is what we're going to look at. Who wrote the book? Where are we? Why is Mark so important? What is the big idea? How do I apply this? And a Bible study aid. This is really useful, and it's great to understand the book before you read it. Mark, who wrote the book? The Bible records more information about Mark than any other gospel writers aside from the Gospel of John. Luke mentioned Mark's name several times in Acts. In budding Jerusalem church met in his mother's home, Mark also started the first missionary journey with Paul and Barnabas, but went home early. Though he later traveled with Barnabas to Cyprus for more missionary work, he became significant in the life of Paul, being one of the last people the apostle mentioned in his final letter in 2 Timothy 4:11. However, Mark's most significant personal connection was one he had with Peter, who was likely Mark's source for the material in the Gospel. Mark's mother's house was a regular enough stop for Peter that servants recognized him by voice alone, recorded in Acts chapter 12. And it appears that Mark was present at Gethsemane, a young man watching the proceedings from a safe distance. Mark chapter 14. Leading some scholars to believe the Last Supper took place in Mark's home. So where are we? Because Mark offered no further comment on Jesus' prophecy regarding the destruction of the temple, an event that occurred in AD 70, we can safely assume that Mark composed the gospel sometime between that tragic event. Also, the gospel has a distinctly Roman feel to it, particularly when compared with the Jewish emphasis of the book of Matthew. Mark chose to leave aside most comments on the fulfilled prophecy. Compare Matthew 21, 1-6, and Mark 11, 1-4. And when he felt compelled to use an Aramaic term, he interpreted it in Mark 3:17. This suggests that Mark was in Rome, writing from Peter's recollection sometime before the apostle's death, around AD 64-68, possibly composing the gospel between AD 57 and 59. So why is Mark so important? Mark's gospel portrays Jesus as constantly on the move. The forward motion in Mark's writing keeps the knowledgeable reader's mind continually looking ahead to the cross and the resurrection. 39 times Mark uses the word immediately, giving a sense that Jesus' time on earth was short and there was much to accomplish in his fewer years of ministry. So, what is the big idea of Mark? While Matthew's gospel portrays Jesus as the king, Mark reveals him as God's servant. Jesus' work was always for the larger purpose, a point clearly summarized in Mark chapter 10, verse 45. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Mark filled his gospel with the miracles of Jesus, illustrating again and again the power and the compassion of the Son of God. In these passages, Mark revealed more than Jesus as the good teacher who offered people spiritual renewal. The book also portrays Jesus as the true God and true man, reaching into the lives of people and affecting physical and circumstantial change. But Jesus' life as the agent of change wasn't without an ultimate purpose. Amid his hands-on ministry, Jesus constantly pointed to the definitive way in which he would serve humanity. His death on the cross and his resurrection from the dead. It's only through faith in these works of Jesus Christ that human beings find eternal redemption for their whole selves. Moreover, Jesus becomes our model for how to live our lives, serving others as he did. So how do I apply this, or how do you apply this? 3 times in 3 consecutive chapters, 8, 9, and 10, Mark pictured Jesus informing his disciples of his great sacrifice and ultimate victory. His disciples either rejected the teaching altogether, Mark chapter 8, verses 81 to 32, or they showed themselves concerned with other matters in chapters 9 and 10. As Jesus prepared to perform the greatest service in the history of the human race, his disciples could only think about themselves, their position, or safety. Do you find it a struggle to get yourself oriented towards sacrificial service, as Jesus' disciples did? The temptations we all wrestle with when faced with the opportunity to serve another person are to pull back within ourselves, to seek our comfort, or to protect our own interests. The challenge that Jesus presents to us is the book of Mark involves breaking out of those patterns of self-absorption and giving others in service and love to others. Next, we have this Bible study chart provided by Dr. Swindoll. He has one for every book of the Bible, and this shows the emphasis, scope, sections, theme, key verse, and how Christ is highlighted in Mark. And you can see it's divided in 3 different sections. The introduction and preparation section, which is a brief introduction as Jesus' ministry is in motion. Then the servant at work section, an unbroken chain of events reveals Jesus helping people in need. And the last section, the servant rejected then exalted. A growing discontent among the authorities leads to Jesus' suffering and death. And I sure hope this was useful to you. Overview of the book of Mark. And we're going to read a chapter of Mark a day and do a Hear Journal on Mark each day. We've got a series on Proverbs, a chapter a day of Proverbs with a Hear Journal a day, and we've got a section of Acts, a Hear Journal a day, along with the chapter a day, the New Living Translation. So come along, read with us the book of Mark. And Hear2See, we focus on sharing pearls of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge, understanding the difficult, and instructions for a better life. So come along with us as we read through Mark. Comment below, share your experiences. What do you know about the book of Mark? How about Dr. Swindoll's website? Very useful, isn't it? And read the Gospel of John chapter 3 to receive forgiveness if you haven't already, and talk to God about it. He loves you. He really, really does. Keep seeking Him, and see you in other videos.